Hare Krishna. That was a successful, quicker stream countdown, as I did start the stream 4 minutes later than planned. Sorry about that for all 0 people who are waiting. Anyway, today we are reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verses 9 through 13. These will be pretty fast. The next verse cluster for our next live stream, however, will be much more interesting, much more to talk about there. Anyway, let's begin by glorifying and invoking the Supreme, as I like to do. You can join me or not. No worries either way. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Yes, first, verses 9 through 13 from the literal translation by H.D. Goswami. Sanjaya said, "Thus speaking, O king, great Yoga Lord Hari then revealed to Partha his supreme ruling form. Many mouths and eyes, many wondrous visions, many divine ornaments, many divine upraised weapons. It bore raiment, divine garlands, divine scents and ointments, all miraculous, godly, endless, facing everywhere. If 1,000 suns could rise at once in the sky, that light might resemble the light of that great soul. There, in the body of the God of gods, Pandava beheld the universe entire in one place, yet variously divided." That last line there reminds me of Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. Everything all in one place, and yet it's not just one thing, it's divided in unlimited ways. Prabhupada's translation we will do now, which is noticeably different for these verses, I think. They're both good, but one of the main differences is that Prabhupada grouped together verses 10 and 11 in one chunk. But anyway, here's verse 9. Sanjaya said, "O king, speaking thus, the Supreme, the Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna." Oh, yeah, that's it. And there's no purport. So moving on, verses 10 and 11. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. SCENTS, scents. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjuna. I really like that last line. That it's really amazing how good this English is. I mean, it's a translation from Sanskrit, but also it's, I don't know, it's something how Prabhupada writes. His periods just seem to have much more gravity to them. Like the period after unlimited, followed by the next sentence. This was seen by Arjuna, period. It just like, there's so much gravity and force there. Very subtle emphasis, which I think is on purpose. I think why it's really short purport, which I'll read in a second, but I don't think, I mean, we can go back to the literal translation, but I don't think it's in the Sanskrit. It directly just says like Arjuna saw this. Looking quickly now, no, it's not there. Yeah, it's not there. But it's obviously true. Remember, there's the literal translation and the colloquial translation. So, and why is it really important that Prabhupada put it in the colloquial translation of the verse itself? Well, one reason is he could be thinking of readers like myself who are glazing or skipping the purports entirely and just want to, at least sometimes, read just the Bhagavad Gita as it is by itself without any purport and without any Sanskrit either. But also there's the nod to his previous purports in the previous verses in the previous chapter, where Prabhupada makes clear to us that Arjuna wants this vision for the betterment of the future humanity, and Krishna agrees. Krishna does not have to agree. Krishna could say the same thing Prabhupada said, that, oh, only a real devotee of mine would not seek some mystical vision of my power that's, could be selfish or immature or something. So no, Arjuna, sorry, I'm not going to give you that. Krishna could do that if he wanted to, but instead it's more the opposite. Krishna's seemingly thrilled, excited, it's a better word, excited to give this vision and experience to Arjuna. But this last sentence, this was seen by Arjuna, this is, I think, the emphasis by Prabhupada here is that now Arjuna is actually seeing it. And what he's seeing in words for us as the reader is no different from what we've already read. Unlimited mouths and hands and legs stretching throughout all the universe and all that, what do you call it? Mystical opulence, I guess. Krishna's already told us all of this. It should not be new for us as the reader, everything Arjuna is going to talk about. What's new and special in chapter 11 here is that Arjuna is actually seeing it. And then these following verses, we're getting eyewitness testimony of those things Krishna was describing about earlier. Now we're actually getting the real thing. And we're getting, you could also call it affidavit testimony, for instance, from Arjuna. I'll read the purport now. These two verses indicate that there is no limit to the hands, mouths, legs, etc. of the Lord. These manifestations are distributed throughout the universe and are unlimited. By the grace of the Lord, Arjuna could see them while sitting in one place. That is due to the inconceivable potency of Krishna. All right, that's pretty much it. We're going to move on to verse 12 in a second. Wow, we're still under 10 minutes. Excellent. I did read these verses before the stream, and I did not take any notes. And I'm really happy how it's going so far. I already found something a little bit new to talk about. And I'm very happy to do more short streams, because I know that's more appropriate in the world we live in. Anyway, I'm playing around with a new streaming thing they added. They added backgrounds here. Well, I like my Krishna anyway. And the simple Korean apartment background is actually kind of hard to beat. I also like how the light just happens to shine directly over Krishna and my right shoulder. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, verse 12. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. Okay, and now some purport. Just quick reminder from me. You may remember in the literal translation by H.D. Goswami, the same thing. Thousands of suns are mentioned. So that's and Prabhupada talks about that practical analogy in the purport. Let's read that now, Prabhupada's purport. What Arjuna saw was indescribable. Yet, Sanjaya is trying to give a mental picture of that great revelation to Dhritarashtra. Neither Sanjaya nor Dhritarashtra were present, but Sanjaya, by the grace of Vyas, could see whatever happened. Thus, he now compares the situation, as far as it can be understood, to an imaginable phenomenon, i.e., thousands of suns. So that's a quick kind of reality check from Prabhupada here. Remember, what we're reading is a transcription of a dialogue or discourse on the battlefield of Krishna and Arjuna. But this we are receiving, it was first received by Dhritarashtra. And then it's perhaps that dialogue that's being recorded for us as well. And what I don't know from this purport is how the grace of Vyasa can allow Sanjaya to see this, at least in part. I really don't have a clue about that. I don't know. That's I'm going to note that to. I'll have to make a new category. So the only notes I have from this entire live stream series is called Previous Goodies We Found. So now I'm going to make a new one called Further, what? I'll call it Further Questions We Have. I don't know. My English is weird sometimes. And we're in chapter 11, verse 12. Purport, Vyasa, grace, how. This is why my English is bad, because I'm constantly studying scripture and writing notes in this like bad English on purpose, because it's good notes. It's more efficient that way, and so on. That's it. We'll move on to our final verse of the day, verse 13, which has a little bit longer purport, but still only one paragraph. Here it is. Verse 13. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. And here's the purport by Prabhupada. The word tatra, there, is very significant. Now, me coming in, you may remember tat means that. So tatra is there. So you can see how Sanskrit kind of takes this tat sat, right? Tat is a very basic, essential, and also philosophical word, and then just modifies it a little bit to get a similar word there. And that's carried on into English as well. The TH in that and the TH in there have the same root. So the difference is, and the R as well is probably the same. There, tatra, that's probably cognate. That's probably directly from Sanskrit. The main difference is in English, we don't have a clue why that means that and there means there. We just go, oh, that's what it means. That's why you repeat the thing. Duh. But Sanskrit is apparently quite intelligent, as an understatement. There's always a reason for everything. And there's probably many other words that end with the tra like that. Like that could be where tantra comes from. Could be conjugating the word tan to get tantra. But I don't know. This is just interesting thing I'd like to study more. Okay, continuing with Prabhupada's purport. So, Tatra. It indicates that both Arjuna and Krishna were sitting on the chariot when Arjuna saw the universal form. Ah, right. Yes. I'm getting that now because tat as the demonstrative pronoun that means you're actually pointing at something over there. And that's why it's a really useful philosophical word, i.e. tattva. Tattva is truth because you can point to it. You can say, look, tat, look at that. It's right there. I see it. And then tat, look at that over the tat and tat. So I can point at these two things, and one is here, one is there. Therefore, they're different. It's literally that simple. Not that deep. It's more deep than that, but it is that simple. Linguistically, philosophically, logically. Continuing on with Prabhupada's purport. Others on the battlefield could not see this form because Krishna gave the vision only to Arjuna. Arjuna could see in the body of Krishna many thousands of universes. As we learn from Vedic scriptures, there are many universes and many planets. Some of them are made of earth, some are made of gold, some are made of jewels, some are very great, some are not so great, etc. Sitting on his chariot, Arjuna could see all these universes, but no one could understand what was going on between Arjuna and Krishna. This is once again another testament, I hope that's the right word, to the glory of what's happening here. It's not only that Krishna shows this universal form of ultimate power and glory and wonder to his great friend and disciple and the great warrior Arjuna. It's that all of this happened in what I'll call very public. I mean, there's thousands and millions of warriors all around, but no one can see it. So there's like, I don't know if it's an irony or what it is, but you have the greatest, basically the most mystical event in recorded history that's been recorded in words happening here, and no one saw it. It's happening in the most public place imaginable, and yet and we have direct testimony recording of it, and yet at the same time, well, basically no one saw it. Only someone with spiritual power or grace can see it, and that number of people is extremely limited. It's Krishna and Arjuna and Sanjaya to a much lesser extent, and only because of the grace of Vyasa. So this is just stupendous. It's really something. Of course, as soon as I start talking about great spiritual figures and mystical things recorded in history, the Jesus Christ Leela comes into my mind. And certainly the resurrection is great, but I don't know. I think that might be a more meaningful event in the sense that that Leela of the resurrection has literally saved souls, probably more souls than have been saved by the Leela that we read today of the universal form. But if you put that aside and just look at the actual divinity on display, I don't think it's actually, maybe it's not even that close. I don't think Jesus Christ is the only person to resurrect, first of all. And the reason that was really so great is because it was prophesied. That's the main thing. That it happened 3 days later, and he was tortured so extremely. And then, people would see the holes in his hand like that. Like it's those precise details about it that make it so powerful, that when people believe it, they can just like one moment, they're instantly saved, which can happen with the Bhagavad Gita as well. And perhaps, maybe from 5,000 years ago when this Gita was being shared up until, like, let's say 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, before Buddha, before Christ, maybe within that time span, people would hear this Leela of Arjuna witnessing the universal form, and they would be overwhelmed with faith and grace and mercy, and their soul would be saved just by hearing this Leela. I think that has happened. I'm guessing the Leela of the Christ resurrection has saved more souls, but I really don't know. But what does seem fair to say that we can all agree on is that in the past 2,000 years, the Leela of the universal form, it's a very small number of people who, read just this particular Leela of Krishna, and it's this particular Leela that saves them or sets them on the spiritual path, bhakti path, and so on, as opposed to the resurrection Leela, which is not only save souls, but it's actually a critical, essential aspect of Christian theology, which I still have not understood, to be most honest. But fascinating stuff. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. And we still finished under 25 minutes. So this is perhaps a new record for me for a really good stream that also ended quickly. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Shri Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis everywhere. Om. Wait, is this one? Yep, this one is mirrored too. Maybe I should change the mirrored camera. Anyway, Haribol. See you next time.